Welcome to Maiden Mother Crone 333, a podcast with intentions to create a safe, sacred space of open discussion as a free resource on spiritual topics for awakened souls in a healing, helping, and guiding practice. Disclaimer: this podcast is for spiritual, educational, and entertainment purposes only. It is not meant to substitute medical care, psychological, financial, or legal counseling. Sorry. Okay. Welcome to Maiden Mother Crone. Today we're going to talk more in depth about healing, things that you can do when you're on your healing journey to help yourself, things that we have discovered in our own practices that have helped us during our healing journey, like when you're going through some trauma or re-experiencing things and you're just trying to get yourself right and on that healing path. So Kari's going to start us off with talking about meditation.
So when my journey started, meditation was really hard for me. And even at times now, it can still be hard. But it was really hard in the beginning because I was a very anxious person and my mind just doesn't want to shut off. So sitting and meditating was not, it just didn't work out well for me. So I found that when I did mindless tasks, I could enter that like state of meditation where like your mind is really not thinking about anything. And I was able to hear my intuition. Um, and typically it was when I was driving or doing laundry, things like that. When I actually started meditating and sitting in it, what I would do is anytime a thought would come into my head, I would imagine it like if I wanted to keep it, if it was something that I needed to remember later, I would imagine it was on a piece of paper and I would pin it to a bulletin board so that I could come back to it later. And if it was something that was just like this intrusive thought that I really didn't need in my head, I would just like picture it like in this cloud and just allow it to like float away. So I'm a very visual person. So for me, that was extremely helpful, just like organizing my thoughts so that I could be quiet. But it was really hard for me. And I know for other people, sometimes even just like walking or running or anything that is, again, like a mindless task can put them into a state of meditation where you don't actually have to like sit and, be quiet or listen to music or a guided meditation. There's so many different ways that you can actually get to that state. Hope, do you have anything to add? Because I know that was difficult for you too. So.
Yeah, I have anxiety too, and I didn't realize that. I think a lot of my anxiety is because I didn't know what was happening and I didn't know how to, I didn't understand that energies of the people's energies were affecting me. I didn't understand, really what was going on. So yeah, I tried to meditate, and I remember looking up stuff on how to meditate, and the best way I can explain it is like I had multiple tabs open, and it was like I didn't know how to shut off all the noise. I didn't know how to turn it off. I didn't know how to sit with it. I didn't know how to balance. I didn't know how to ground. I didn't know what any of that stuff even meant. So then I ended up meeting Michelle, and she had talked to me about, eventually going to Fellowship of Spirits to take sits. So I literally started spiritual insight training, not to become a medium, because that's not what I thought I was doing. It was to understand why I had the ringing in my ears, understand why I couldn't sit in meditation. Understand what I was seeing, because at that time I called them ghosts. I thought they were ghosts. So there was just so much that I just wanted to silence my mind. I was like in overdrive, but didn't understand why, or didn't even know where to start because I didn't have anybody to guide me. So I literally started the classes because I'm like, okay, I'm going to come out knowing how to meditate and knowing how to just finally shut my mind off. And it just went in a whole different direction, and here I am. Yeah, so the meditation was very difficult because I even remember when I started meditating, I remember the one house I lived in, our house, I would go in the bathroom and I would shut the door because I knew that was probably the only place away from my kids and my animals and my husband that I could have like 5 minutes to myself. And I remember when I started meditating, I would feel really nauseous and I would get very lightheaded. And I would be sitting there thinking, I am doing something wrong. This isn't correct. This isn't right. I shouldn't be feeling this way. And I got so afraid because I felt so sick, I wouldn't let myself go any further with the meditation. But, come to find out, I really think that was just really learning how to, ground myself, really learning how to go within, really learning, to shut all that noise off. I know that now, but then it was just very scary to me. And I didn't really have any mentors and guides at the time to help me with it. So it's okay. Yeah, so that's how it really started with me in the meditation and really trying to figure things out and really just understanding it and learning how to do it. Like I had to be taught how to do it. So,
I think that's pretty typical. I had no idea what I was doing either. And I knew that meditation was supposed to be helpful in some way. Um, And so I started doing like the guided meditations when I started, and it was really just learning about breathing. And
mhm.
I too would go to like the one place in my house where I wouldn't be disturbed and it was quiet and I could concentrate. And then like learning through Michelle and her classes and stuff, and she was like, you should be able to meditate anywhere, like sitting on the freeway and just tune everything out. And I'm like, yeah, right. Like I could barely tune my own thoughts out. How am I supposed to tune out anything that's around me? So I started with the guided meditations and learning the breathing. And like you, like for one, I would just automatically fall asleep if I was laying down. So then I figured I had to sit up. But then like you, I started having this energy like swirling. And two, the other thing that happened when I was meditating regularly, because I was doing it all the time, I would get this physical sensation. I know now that it was like my third eye opening. But
Mhm.
it literally was like a drill. I felt like going into my brain, and I was like, this isn't normal. What the hell is this? But like Carrie said, there's a million other ways to do it. The point of meditation is to take your brain away, just to take you away from everything. It's to shut it off, it's to shut off all the outside thoughts and to really tune in to yourself, to your body, to your own energy, and to just be without anything else going on. Just allow yourself to be. Um, and that's really hard to do. It's really, really hard to do. So you can do a walking meditation where you just clear your thoughts and it's like the vibration of your steps. So going on a walk and really trying to clear your mind that way. Like Carrie said, doing dishes, doing laundry, just like trying to clear your mind and not paying attention to anything. You can keep your eyes open and just focus on one spot, sit out in the woods and just listen to the trees rustling. You don't actually have to sit and go, you can do it a million other ways and start to train your brain. And once you get your brain trained to say, this isn't scary, this is okay, then you can try it in other ways. But meditation is so helpful. It is so, so helpful in a million ways for your physical body, for your health, and it really helps to like even out your energy.
One thing that also helped me was when I was at JCC, I remember having a professor and he was either my psychology or sociology professor. It's been so many years now, I don't remember, but I remember him specifically saying though, always enjoy the moment you're in and literally saying when you're doing dishes, stand there and be in the moment of doing dishes. When you're in the shower, be in the moment of being in the shower. Like that really resonated with me because I was like, okay, well, if I'm standing here doing dishes, then I'm really not allowing myself to think about anything else that's going around me because I'm in that moment. So I started practicing even before realizing what this was, before my classes, like out at fellowship and stuff, because this would have been in my late 20s. I was starting to learn how to just be in the moment, to just be aware. And that helped a lot. And I didn't realize what I was doing was leading me into that meditation. And it took me so many years later to really, grasp and understand that. But I just remember him telling me that, or telling the whole class that. So that is a place I still go back to, especially if I'm at work in the classroom, or if I'm in the grocery store. It's like, okay, I'm in the grocery store. I'm going to be in this moment right now. And then I really just try to center in on where I'm at that moment, and just like kind of tune everything else out around me. Another thing that is helpful for me is I go to my happy place. So as soon as I go into meditation, I needed a place to go. Like, I couldn't just sit there because I could listen to the silence, but then our mind, it filters in, and then we start, hearing things and stuff going on. So it's like, okay, I could swipe it like a phone. I could go past it and try to recenter, but instead I'm like, I'm going to go to a happy place. So I picture myself in like this area with water, and I'm stepping off the shore onto this raft, and either I'm sitting there and I'm literally just looking at everything around me when I'm on this raft. And it's like I can hone into that silence. And that's my meditation. So I always go to my happy place, and that helps, especially, people that are like, well, yeah, I really can't shut my mind off. I need to go, I need to do something or see something. It used to be on a horse. I used to like see myself on a horse in the woods, and then it just went to this place. So that helps too.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Kari. I thought you weren't on here. Okay.
Yeah, I'm back.
Kari, I know that you have a thing that you do too when you meditate, because you don't just sit in silence.
No, I can't. So I'll tell you that in a second as well. I don't know if you guys mentioned this because I disappeared, but in the shower, that was where I used to always like meditate, because then I could also envision like the water cleansing my energy and like releasing everything down the drain. So I meditated in the shower a lot in the beginning too. Um, but now I get in an elevator, and I know that Pope has done that one before as well, but that's what I always do. So I always walk into an elevator and I hit the up button, and it changes. Like some days my elevator looks different than other days. A lot of times my elevator stops and I get out on top of like this beautiful mountain, and I can like see down into this like ravine and stuff. But some days like my elevator keeps going and it transforms into a hot air balloon, and I like float around and see things. And the other day it like just kept going and going, and I just went somewhere totally different, and I ended up on the beach somehow. So yeah, but that's how I always kind of get into my meditation, is I physically, well, not physically, but I envision like physically stepping into an elevator and going somewhere.
I think that's a really good tip, because a lot of people, I mean, in fellowships, we talk about Fellowships of the Spirit. That is a program in New York that does like spiritual training, and the spiritual insight training that Hope was talking about, SITS class spiritual insight training. That's like a long weekend, and then they have like a 2-year program where you do more training. But in that program, they make you just sit in silence. Like, you have to get used to the silence and being in the silence. And that was so hard. Mark, one of the guys who like runs it, who started it, he would give us some things to do at the beginning for like 5 minutes, like some special words that we were supposed to say. But after that, you're just supposed to be nothing. And I was like, ah. So yeah, sometimes I can really achieve that and do really well with it. And other times I'm like, you guys, my brain is here or there. I'm like, I got to focus on something. What the hell can I focus on? But it really, when you get to the point where you can just chill out and let it go, let everything go and just be, give yourself a damn break. That's what it is, honestly. And so I always feel better after I meditate. Before I sit down and meditate, honestly, I'm always like, ugh, like what a pain in the ass. But then afterward, I'm like, oh, that feels so much better. It's like the workout thing. If you don't like working out, and then after you work out, you're like, oh, I feel so good now. It's one of those things. So people talk all the time about like, I hate meditation, meditation sucks, I'm not good at it, blah, blah, blah. You just have to find what works for you. Some people can't sit down and just Om. Some people have to envision things. Some people need guided meditation. Some people need to do physical things, even with your hands or staring at a candle flame or something like that. Eventually, when you get into that mind frame of nothingness, like you're going to start getting messages from spirit. And you're going to say, is that my imagination or is this real? But it will start to come in that way for you. And then you can really start to connect internally. And that's part of the healing journey, is connecting with your soul. It's connecting with spirit in that way and getting those messages.
Before we get into the healing part of it, I think it's important for everybody to understand and know too that there's really no right or wrong way to meditate, that there are so many different books and manuals and people have opinions. And to me, meditation is anytime you are in a position where you're able to silence and quiet the noise in your mind and just tune it all out, and you're not thinking about anything, that's also a form of meditation, which could happen when you're sitting at the car, maybe in the parking lot, waiting to go in a grocery store, or you're standing in line at the grocery store and you literally zone out and you're hearing nothing, nothing's going on, and then all of a sudden it's your turn. So, it's important. Just remember, like Roxanne was saying, be gentle with yourself. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's what works for the individual person. And every single person, I do believe, we meditate in some way, shape, or form, but we don't realize that's what we're doing. So it's anytime your mind is silent, anytime there's no extra noise going on, that's also, I feel, a form of meditation, because you're able to what's the word I'm looking for, ladies? You're just able to silence your mind.
Yeah.
So,
I think a lot of people get it too when they exercise.
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
Or doing like art, being creative,
yes,
things like that. Yeah.
writing, journaling.
Yes.
Oh, so
Yeah. Good point. Good point. But it's an important part of the healing journey, just to be able to give yourself that space and that grace. Um, the other thing that we learned about meditation in my class that I went to, Fellowship of the Spirit, Mark taught us that and this actually, I have the documentation somewhere. I could pull it out if I could find it. But it has been studied, okay, that it's 12 minutes a day is all you need of meditation, for it to have like the effects that we wanted to have on our bodies as humans and to help us with healing. So 12 minutes a day. And at first, that's going to seem humongous. Literally, just start with 5 minutes. That's all you need, and build your way up to 12. But 12 minutes is not that long. Even now, when I meditate myself, 20 minutes usually max. Like, I don't usually go beyond that. I mean, if it's really intense situation that's happening, sometimes I go on trips in meditation. But yeah, 12 minutes, that's all it takes. So that's as long as it takes for you to, I don't know, brush your teeth and wash your face in the morning. So there's really no excuse to not be doing it. It's something that's going to benefit you. And I think that once you get the hang of it, it's so good for your healing journey.
Well, and
And
it's just good for you in general. Like, isn't there studies about that as well? Like how healing meditation is as far as like your body being able to have better immunity and recovery from injury and illness. Like it almost extends your life. I mean, I would have to look it up, but I know I have seen something about this.
I've seen that too. It's like good for your heart. It's good for like all of the systems. It really helps you align all of your systems. So not as only is it good energetically and healing wise and spiritually for you, it's good for you physically in a lot of different ways. I'm sure I have lists somewhere of that. Yeah. Hmm. Oh, excuse me. What else do we want to cover here? What were we going to talk about? Cleansing, energy cleansing.
healing, yeah, other ways for healing.
Yeah, other ways for healing. I think that we could talk all day about energy and energy work, and things like that, but really to talk about cleansing your energy, that's part of what is happening in meditation, but you can on purpose cleanse your energy at any time, any place. And you would want to do that if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling angry, if you can feel other people's stuff, like if you're an empath and you can feel like you're taking it on, you walk into a room and you're just covered in the crap that other people have. Um, Anytime you want to cleanse your own energy, you can do it like that. There are a million different ways. I can talk about a couple of the ways that I do it, and maybe Carrie and Hope can talk about ways that they do it too. You don't need any special tools. That's another thing about spirituality. Everyone's always trying to sell you something. You don't need anything. Literally, you just need yourself for like 100% of the work. You don't need anything else. To cleanse your energy is super easy. A couple of the ways that I do it first is the white light method. So you just kind of take a few deep breaths and center yourself. And you want to be grounded, like have your feet flat on the ground, even if you're just sitting in your car, like put your feet flat and take a few deep breaths, center yourself. Imagine a stream of white light coming from the sky. So coming down from the sky, from heaven, from wherever, the stream of white light that comes down and it swirls all around and it soaks into the top of your head. You have like a funnel up there that's catching it. That's your crown chakra, and it's catching it and it's bringing it down through, and take it down through every portion of your body, the top of your head, your eyes, inside your body, outside your body, around your mouth, your neck, your shoulders, all the way down until it comes out your feet. So you want this white light to go all the way down and out your feet so that it drains out into Mother Earth and you can release any of that energy. And this cleansing that is happening, you can even set your intentions for it and just say out loud, like, I want to release any thoughts, feelings, or emotions that are not my own or that are not helpful to me right now, and set your intentions for that. The other thing that you can do with that is you can start just the same way with the white light coming down and through you. It can reach your heart, and once it gets to your heart, you can bring it back up like a fountain spitting out of the top of your head and surrounding you, and water, and this white light water just surrounding you in it. And that is going to cleanse your energy, and it's setting an energy bubble around you so that no energy can come in. I always set an energy bubble whenever I'm going to like Walmart or leaving the house. I set an energy bubble knowing if I'm going to be working with people that I don't necessarily always get along with. So to do the energy bubble, it's just the same thing. You bring the white light down, surround yourself with it, cleanse your energy first, and then you simply just, what I do is I have my heart and I picture a flower blooming out of my heart, out of my front and out of my back, and I send my love out. I open my heart. And as my heart opens, the whatever color you associate with your heart, typically in the chakras, it's a green color. It could be pink, it could be whatever color you want it to be. But I send that color out and it forms a bubble, a literal bubble around me. And that is my energy bubble for the day. And I put a sheen on it and make it impenetrable. Any energy that comes toward me is going to bounce off my bubble, be neutralized, and be sent back out into the world. So I set that bubble around me and I make sure that it's there before I go into Walmart, before I go anywhere that I might be vulnerable to other people's energy. And you can be in the middle of Walmart, not even thinking about it, not having your bubble up, and then you're like, oh, I feel it, and you can like slam it into place real quick so that it's just like, boom, there it is, to shield yourself that way. How do you guys cleanse your energy?
Um, I like to use water to cleanse my energy. So even just like running my hands under like some warm water and just like standing there for a couple of minutes and just kind of, I don't know, it's such a relaxing thing to me to just be in water. So even just simply washing my hands and then imagining any negative energy, any energy that is not my own, to just wash down the drain. I also do that in the shower. I do the white light down through my whole body and out my feet, like you were saying as well. And then because I do Reiki, I will do Reiki on myself before I meditate to cleanse my energy. Sometimes I actually sage myself. So that's another way. Um, but yeah, it's really just usually setting my intentions to release all the energy that does not serve me, any negative energy that I may have picked up, any negative thoughts that I may be having that are not serving my highest and best. I always just imagine releasing that energy either down into Mother Earth. And I always say that she recycles it for with love and light, because I don't want it to be, I don't like the return to sender. I know some people will say that, when they put their bubble off, like everything will reflect off of me and go back to the sender. And I don't like that. I like to say everything goes back to the universe with love and light, because I don't ever want to put anything negative out into the world, whether I created it or not. I just want it to be recycled into good. And when we're talking about setting bubbles, I even set bubbles around my property. Like if we have a bad storm coming in or something, I set like a dome of protection around my home. And, there'll be like trees down and hail damage and all this stuff. And I like walk outside and nothing happened in my house. So you may be skeptical, but do it, because then you're going to quickly realize, oh, it actually does work. So
And just to pop in there, I set bubble of protection around my car when I go on vacation. Like when I'm driving, I get in the car and I set a bubble around my car that nothing will be able to hurt us. And I did that, like my intuit, I forgot to do that when I was driving to South Carolina. And just out of nowhere, I feel like Spirit was telling me, like, you didn't set your bubble. And I was like, oh. So like I quickly did it while I was driving, and not 5 minutes later, this guy comes flying off like the exit and just like swerved and was like this close to hitting me, and like then swerved back. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was so close. Like, but Spirit knew that I needed to do that. So I did that.
yes, exactly. I set it when like we travel. I set it around my kids. Like some days I just, like when they're off to school or whatever they're doing, I surround them in a bubble of protection. I surround their school bus to keep all the kids safe. Like protection bubbles are the way to go.
Okay, so yeah, when I first started, I would also do the protection bubble. I love bubbles. I do them a lot, and I do them for other people. I do them for my children, for my family members, for my car, for my animals, for my house, for my property. I also do the dome around my house. It's funny though, because whenever I picture it, lately it used to be a dome, but now more it reminds me of, at the dollar store where you can get that shrink wrap, and it like kind of like when you blow dry it, it gets warm, and then at the top you can tie it off with a really nice bow. For some reason, my dome has now turned into that above my house. So once I do my property and around it and everything, all of a sudden I'm like at the top of my house, and I'm doing like the saran wrap thing where I'm like really bringing it in and making it tight and tying it off at the top. I don't know, it's kind of funny. I just kind of allow my mind to go where it needs to go for what it feels I need to do for that protection. But when I first started, it was actually a friend of mine that suggested, put a bubble around you and picture people bouncing off of it. And I was like, yeah, okay. So when I worked at my summer job, excuse me, it was a lot as an empath. It was a lot working with the public in the ticketing department. So I remember literally setting this bubble, but it's going to be funny. It looked like a hamster ball. And on the side of my hamster ball would be like this little door. So I would open my door and I would step inside of it. And when I would walk, my ball would roll with me like a hamster ball. And it was funny because every place I went, from the grocery store to the mall to wherever, my dome or like my bubble took on a different color ring around it. So I just learned to trust, okay, that's the color that needs to be around it, which later I started to connect and think, okay, that's the chakras or whatever else. So that's how I first started. I still do my bubble a lot. Now if I'm like really quick, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my hamster ball, or sometimes I'll just picture like a white light waterfall coming down over top of me. Um, you know, once in a while, depending on where I'm at, because sometimes places I go to, I can feel the energy. So I'll literally like wipe it off me, be like, okay, and just like wipe it off me. Um, you know, just like a burst of white light just coming in and just like almost like a blow dryer, just like, you know, wiping it off. I'm thinking, I don't know. I had all these ideas when you ladies were talking of what I do, but those are probably the most ones. And like in my room, I will picture, it's interesting. So I'll like picture my walls and then I'll picture like the white light going across each wall and coming down like a curtain of light on my walls. So I have like this nice, like my walls are radiating with white lights in my head, of course. And then I set my protection that way too, especially my bedroom. Like I set the protection in my bedroom big time. And I have told Spirit, unless the house is on fire, my animals are in trouble, someone's breaking in, or something's wrong with my kids, you know, that is my private space. You know, that is my safe space to be without any interruption, because I've had Spirit wake me up before and I'm not doing that. Kind of freaks me out knowing that, you know, they stand next to the bed at certain times of the night, you know, that stuff that you read up on and you see and you hear, and it's like, okay, I woke up at 3 and you can feel somebody standing there. And I've actually had people standing at the side of my bed before. So I'm like, no, my bedroom is like 110% off limits unless it's these like few reasons. So then I picture my white curtain coming in.
I too have had that happen, Spirit being in the bedroom and not good situations with it. We could talk about personal experiences
Mhm.
on another step here. But similar to you, when I'm cleansing my house, and I do have the dome over my house, but first, when I go through and I'm cleansing my house and I'm cleansing each room, not just cleansing my own energy, but I'm cleansing each room as I go through and I'm setting my intentions for the energy to be renewed in the house. Uh, I stand in the center of the room and I reach my white light out from my heart, from like I guess my center chakras, like my solar plexus and my heart. And I reach my white light out and I let it coat the walls. And it starts with one wall, it moves to the next, it makes a box, it goes over the ceiling, it goes over the floor. And then I stand in this box of white light for whatever room I'm in. And I just make sure that it is like entirely cleansed and that there's like a barrier up, that it's protected in that way. And then once I do the entire house that way, at the end, it expands from within my house to outside of my house to underneath my house to like my property lines and my backyard. And so my bubble is actually really big in that way. And you can set your intentions to be as specific as you want. I tell my guides, I ask my guides, even if you don't regularly talk to your guides or know who they are, just say it out loud. I tell my guides, like, this is my protected space. Nobody can enter this space that has harmful intentions towards me or anybody in my family. No energy can come through here that has harmful intentions towards me or towards my family. And I don't want any spirits just wandering through. No spirits are allowed to come in unless they are invited, to let me know if anyone tries to come in. And I have had my guides like reach out to me and let me know, hey, there's a spirit here that's not supposed to be here. And we can work on that. But even if you're not like in tune with your guides, I would still set that intention, like protect my house, and keep anything out that doesn't need to be here.
So I feel like we've mentioned the bubble a lot. And Roxanne, you briefly touched on like how you set yours, but I feel like we keep talking about it, but didn't really say what we do to set our bubble. Because I actually I like sit and I just say a prayer basically. And I just say, like, I surround myself in a bubble of God's white light. I ask that no negative, wow, I can't talk. No negative energy penetrates my bubble. Anything that is sent my way to cause me harm will reflect off of me and go back to the universe with love and light. And that's basically exactly what I say if I'm like surrounding my property or my kids or a car or whatever. Like, I just envision an actual bubble and I just basically say this quick prayer and it's done and over with. So I don't know what you guys do to create your bubble, but I just felt like maybe that was something helpful we needed to mention.
Okay, so I usually say, I ask for the white light of love, protection, and safety. Um, to wash over me and protect me, bring to me what's for my highest and best of intentions, what is meant for me, my family, my loved ones. I also sometimes will say, okay, I ask for the white light of love and protection from, God, Spirit, Jesus, Great Mother. It just depends on the situation I'm in, but I'm always asking for the white light of the source. So, everyone has someone different based on their religion or, who their source is. So, you can just ask for the white light of the source to come in and protect you and keep you safe. And, you know, um, and I use that version for many different things, setting intentions during readings, setting intentions for going into places. I feel like each situation or scenario, it's a little bit different depending, but I always ask for that white light of love, protection, and safety from the source to come in. Also using Palo Santo. I forgot to mention that, like, side note, like Palo Santo and sage. I like to do the sage because that definitely clears the space, but I like the Palo Santo because I feel like it has a different calming presence to me than the sage. So I use that also, and sometimes Florida water. So.
That's funny that you mentioned that because I too use Palo Santo sage and I'd make a little mixture in my bowl. Like I literally have my conch shell here, but I have like sage, lavender, Palo Santo, and I just like the way that it works together for me. It just feels the most best. And I do have Florida water and I use that in cleaning my house. Like when I'm mopping my floors, I tip a little bit of that in there. And I've seen recipes for it online and I'm like, I should totally make it myself because it's probably so easy to make. But anyway, I think I talked about how I did my bubble where I use my heart and my solar plexus and I push the white light out or push the light out of me and make a bubble of my own energy. And that's what my intentions are to be in my own energy in this bubble all day long. And then the sheen of protection around it is like the white light from source so that nothing can come into me. Everything is bounced off of me. And I say it sends back out into the universe. Um, I don't give specific instructions like Kari does that it doesn't hurt anybody, but maybe I should do that. I'm just like, it bounces off and leaves me alone, goes back out into the universe. Um, and sometimes I even surround my bubble with the violet flame so that it is neutralized before it goes out. So I guess I do that. But you can do whatever makes you comfortable. I like to have my bubbles formed with my own energy and it's coming out of me. So I'm not, I mean, you can, like I said, do the fountain where it comes down and it like makes the white fountain around you. Um, Whatever works. And you'll find your own ways of doing things. We tend to draw a lot from the source, from the sky, the white light that comes down. But as an earth sign, I'm a Taurus. As an earth sign, I spend a lot of time also connecting with Mother Earth, with grounding and putting my roots down into the ground, literally picturing roots growing out of my feet down into the ground. No matter where you're at, you could be on the 18th floor of a high rise, like let the roots grow all the way down, all through all the lower buildings and into the ground beneath, and tapping into Mother Earth. And you can pull from her energy and I send healing every day through my body also to Mother Earth because I'm just super in tune and connected with her. So I do pull a lot of energy that way too, and not just from source. And I think it depends on just what you're comfortable with, what's good for you. I think it's funny because we are our archetypes, like fire signs. A lot of people will be burning candles all the time. Air signs will have like the fans on, the windows open, air blowing through their house, air conditioners running. Pisces, like the water signs, they love water. Like Kari was saying, she's in the shower, she's cleansing her energy by washing her hands. So it's whatever's going to be comfortable for you, whatever feels right to you, because there's no wrong way to be spiritual. There's no wrong or right way to do this. And it's just doing whatever you feel is right in your heart.
I'm
I
not
think we were
100%
talking
sure.
before about healing, and like our awakening symptoms, how we have things that we feel in our bodies, like the heart palpitations, or how we store energy in our bodies, for things like trauma that we've experienced that we've not released. And there's so many different ways to release that. But understanding, learning about the chakras, understanding them, what their each job is, and what kind of energy is stored there. That way, if you're on your healing journey and you're saying, I'm getting a lot of heart palpitations, or my belly's been really nauseous all the time, you can say, like, what chakra is there? What does that deal with? What am I experiencing in my life, or what's coming up for me over and over again with that? And then you can hone in on that and try to focus on healing that, doing different like Reiki or meditations focused on that, or affirmations for that. I actually have a journal that I started when I was healing. I went through and spent like a month on each chakra. Like, I wanted to learn everything I could about the root chakra. I did all the meditations for it, all the affirmations, all like this energy work around it and cleansing it and stuff like that. And I went through and spent like a month on each one. And then I randomly will go back and do like spend a week on each one and just trying to clear it out, because it's so important. That's what they say, when you're in alignment, you're in alignment with spirit, you're in alignment with yourself, your energy is in alignment in your chakras. It's important to have that healthy balance in there, because there's so much stuff that we just hold on to and we don't realize it.
Yeah. Honestly, if we were to talk about that as far as, which one gives you what symptoms and all, like, I think I would need like 4 hours to go through everything. But yeah, because obviously, like you're saying, like heart palpitations, things like that. Obviously, if you're constantly having like an upset stomach, then that would be your sacral. If you're having very negative thoughts, a lot of fears, that can be your root and also your sacral. But then things also connect directly to like your liver, your kidneys, your legs, your feet. Like, it is absolutely insane. Not to mention, like, you can have a blocked one, which is then giving you negative symptoms, but then you can also have an overactive chakra where you're then like, say my crown is too, like, it's too open, it's overactive. I'm then too up in the clouds, like I am detached from even like my human existence, like I'm just up off in like dreamy land all the time. So it really is about being completely in balance, because you can be underactive, overactive. Yeah.
Why don't we just go through and name them so that we know what they are, and what their basic function is. So the root chakra is just that. That's the one that is in it's your tailbone. It's where everybody says that it is located, like around your tailbone area. And that one keeps you grounded. And it's, when I do my affirmations, it's that I am safe. I have everything I need to survive and I'm okay. Like, it's your safety. It's making sure that you're doing okay. You're grounded. What do you root, Kari? Fill me in here.
I feel like you're putting me on the spot. Okay.
I am.
Um, so, I mean, obviously, again, like the root, like you said, it's about security. It is. It's about feeling safe. But it's also about being like grounded. So, when we're talking about like our crown and being attached to like the universe is almost how I imagine that. And then your root is the base of that. And that is what grounds you into the earth. So you really want both to be completely active at the same time, so that you are connected both ways and that you are in balance. So yeah, your root is all about being grounded, feeling secure with yourself. But then if you were overactive, you could be maybe a little bit overconfident in yourself, to the point where you might be a little bit like cocky. I don't know what else to say about that. So it really is just feeling like secure, having your needs met, like your basic. Yeah.
And then moving up, we have our sacral. Yeah, that's located like right underneath the belly button. Kari's not looking up when I'm laying down here.
Then you can't see what I'm
She's
doing
gonna
at
turn it
all.
all red.
So that for me, was actually my biggest struggle as a person who was very anxious. I would have an overactive like tummy situation. A lot of times when you imagine like people talk about like swallowing their emotions, it is a huge energy center there, and it can cause a lot of like irritable bowel syndrome and things like that, because you're like burying your anxiety inside of your stomach, and it's just a ball of like nausea. And yeah, so that was actually my biggest struggle. I focused on that one a lot in the beginning.
Yeah, but the sacral's all around. It's, well, the root is red. That's the color
Yeah.
associated with that. The sacral chakra is orange. So it's like the rainbow that goes up the body. And that one is on like fun, spontaneity, could be around like sexual pleasure, and in general, just like fulfillment and joy and creativeness. Like that's where your creative stuff comes from. So that's like it's supposed to be like the fun chakra, I feel like. That's what I think of it as. And then moving up above the belly button is the solar plexus, and that one is yellow. And
Mhm.
I always associate that one with the sun. Obviously, it's yellow. But that one is like confidence, it's believing in yourself, it's um, yeah, leading yourself, being confident and feeling like I am the person that I strive to be. And going up, you have your heart chakra right around your heart area. That one is green generally. Um, and that's opening your heart. It's being love. It's loving others and receiving love. I feel like a lot of us have issues with receiving love and having built walls around that area. Excuse me. And then moving up to your throat chakra, that one's blue. And that one is like speaking up for yourself. It is speaking clearly, and being free to be authentic in who you are as a person. And then you have your third eye chakra, which is located right between your eyebrows, just a little bit above. And that's like your pineal gland in there. There's a literal thing in the inside that's like um, it looks like a pine cone in there that opens up, and that's your third eye, and that helps you see. That one's purple. So a lot of times you do meditations that envision a purple light coming in through there, but that one will help you see through the veil, quote unquote, see spirit, or be able to see things that way, and even speak to yourself and just being open to your intuition, hearing your own messages, hearing your soul self. And then just floating right above your head is your crown chakra, and that's what Kari said connects us to the universe, so to the collective. Like there's this big group think of collective where you can give and receive information that's available to you all of the time. So those are the basis of the chakras. Hope, do you ever do any work with them?
No. So I completely agree with you and Carrie on the chakras, and it's important for them to be in alignment. I am aware of them. I'm aware when they're out of alignment, but it's not a focal point for me when it comes to my healing. Um, I want to study all the chakras, I think. I want to know what they all are and where they fall. And I feel that, and I'm going to use the word should very lightly because you shouldn't have to do anything. But I should know what they all are, but I don't. Like I know where the root chakra is, I know my sacral, I know my throat, I know my third eye, my crown, but when it comes to certain things, I don't really focus in on the chakras. Like I know I'm out of alignment. So what do I need to do to be in alignment? And then I do healing practices around that. But I don't like look up my chakras and like, oh, okay, my root is out of balance, so I need to do this. I don't do that personally. Like I said, I totally agree with you ladies, though. It is important to do. It's important to be aware of it. I just don't do that for healing. I do I do different stuff. So I don't really hone in on the chakras a whole lot. When I go to Reiki sessions and I have healings, so I'll go to healings and I have healings done, and they'll say, okay, well, you need to work on this chakra area. Okay. But then I go into it a little bit more of what I work on. So yeah, I don't really sit with them a lot. It's like I know what is out of alignment, and then that's how I work on it, if that makes sense. I don't know. So yeah, no. So um the healing that I do is again through Reiki sessions or through receiving healings, through like the mother wound, like traumas. So just those type of healings and working on like, somebody working on those areas. I do a lot of, I have past life readings because I'm all about learning my lesson of what I've done in the past. So I don't continue reliving it because I have so much other important stuff that I need to be doing on a soul level that I'm like, I want to clear it, heal it, and I want to move past it. So in my like past life regressions or past life readings, I will be like, okay, this makes sense to me as to why this is a wound and why I need to heal this. So then I will just work on that. So I sit in meditation, I'll communicate with spirit, and then I'll journal on it. I'll set affirmations and intentions and do a lot of releasing, a lot of like almost like during like the different moon rituals and stuff. I'll do a lot of stuff like that for the healing and the releasing. Um, you know, I don't know. There's more in there. I have more in there what I do for healings, but yeah, I don't really. And chakras are important and stuff. I just can't sit down and I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's a part that I'll be moving eventually into and being like, okay, I'm gonna know like all the chakras and I'm gonna know all their colors. But I just feel like with whatever's going on with me at the time it's going on, like if I'm having issues in the stomach area, you said that's the sacral, right? Okay, yeah. So I'm like, all right, I'm having stomach issues. My anxiety's ramping up because I've had anxiety for so many years and I didn't know that a lot of what I was like, what was going on with me was related to a chakra. So I think I've just learned to do it differently. So I incorporate the chakra idea, but I've just learned to do it differently only because of the knowledge and where I came from with, really learning all of this. And I'll picture different things like during cleansings, I'll picture like the energy like gray, smoky energy coming out my knees because, my knees are bothering me or my feet. So I definitely need to be grounded and rooted. But it's like I visually see things, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I guess I do use the chakras. I just do it differently. I guess.
Well, what you're saying makes sense though, and that's it. It's really hard to like say these are our chakras because they are. That is what we mainly teach, but there are way more chakras, way more. And a lot of times when people come in for a session, I make sure every single one is open, aligned, working the way that it's supposed to be. I check them 3 different times, but I focus so much on pulling energy from their bodies and also from like their auric field too, because it's not just about the chakras either. Like we hold a lot of trauma in like our hips and it's just our lower backs, our shoulders, like, and it's not necessarily always directly tied to, I mean, I have had people come in where like they're wide open in their root and sacral and solar plexus, but I spend half of the session pulling stored trauma out of their hips and their lower back, but their lower chakras were fine and open. So I guess I blend energy healing and spiritual work with like the Reiki sessions. So I just don't know yeah, how to really address that.
I'm just saying a basis here for like if somebody is just getting into their spiritual groundwork, and trying to understand what are some things that I can do while I'm on my healing journey because I'm just experiencing all this stuff. Like one of the things that you can do is focus on the chakras and you don't have to. Like hope doesn't even worry about them, as long as you're working on and through your stuff in the way that feels comfortable for you, that is what matters. And spirit is going to lead you to do that in different ways. Spirit, a lot of our healing is spirit led, it is self led, and that's exactly where you need to be. This is just some ideas throwing out there for anybody who would need them. That these are things that have worked for me. I know that these are things that I have gone back to because no matter how, like we've talked before about no matter how long you're on your healing journey, shit's gonna come up. And I have stuff like we're all going through shit right now, let's be real. all three of us. And it is really hard sometimes to just like, oh, I know how to deal with this. Like, I should go and do this stuff, you know? But for a while, your world just falls apart and you're like, what the hell am I going to do? I don't know what to do about this. And then you have to go revisit and say, oh, I have dealt with this before. And I know that I have some tools here in my toolbox. That's what this is. It's your spiritual toolbox in order to help with this. So that's all we're doing is trying to collect tools in our spiritual toolbox. And there's so many different ways to get those tools, but these are just some that we know that are helpful. And also just, I feel like I talk forever, but Angie was teaching the class the one time in fellowships, and I know you guys love Angie. I love Angie. She's great. She's another mentor and teacher, spiritual teacher. But she was like, you know, you spend all this time aligning your chakras or aligning your energy and doing all this stuff. And Angie's like, I don't do that. I just ask spirit to align me. And I was like, what? So she's like, yeah, I just sit there and I'm like, spirit, please align my energy, align my chakras. And so I was like, brilliant. Like, you don't have to, you know, you can ask spirit to do it and help you with it. And so I do that now. Like when I'm in meditation, I'll just ask spirit and then I can feel them like they're kind of out and they kind of slide together like they just go in a line. I'm like, that works. It works. So you can always do that. Ask spirit to align your energy, align your chakras.
So going off of healing a little bit more, um, you know, when people talk about healings and stuff, I remember the first it was so funny. I might have already told the story, but I remember going to fellowship and it was my first weekend and we had to do healings. First of all, when I'm sitting there and we were doing all the exercises we were doing, I'm like, what the hell did I sign up for? Like, what am I doing right now? This is absolutely crazy. I have no idea what I'm doing, but it all felt right. And so, you know, I'm totally glad I stuck it out. But then came the weekend of the healings, and I'm like, oh, hell. Healings, really? So I remember sitting in class, and I don't know if you two had this experience, but I remember sitting there watching people because, you know, they break you down into circles or groups that you sit with. And I remember watching people and I'm seeing people reaching towards the sky and down from the ground. And I remember when it was my turn and I remember going up to my first person going, oh, for the love of God, if there really is someone up there helping me with this, please come through right now. Cause I don't know what I'm doing, you know, cause this was so new to me. And I remember like going like this with my hands and I, you know, because I am a Virgo. So I'm going to learn the steps and I'm going to learn the process and I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do it exactly how the book told me how to do it. So I was saying all the words and doing all the things, but I'm literally like this with one eye open going, what the hell am I doing? Like, what am I pulling up from the ground? What am I pulling from the sky? I'm like, this is not working, you know, because I wasn't feeling anything. So I really felt like really out of my element with the healing. And then I remember we had to keep doing them, and it was like the next day, and my little circle group, everybody left. Everybody did their healings, and then we were supposed to stay in our group. They left. So I'm just sitting there because I'm a Virgo, and I'm just waiting because we were told to not leave, you know, while everybody else is still doing healing. So my mentor, he came over and he's like, did you get to heal somebody? I went, no, everybody left. Everybody did their healings and everybody, and I'm just kind of here. So he's like, okay, well, you're going to heal me. And I'm like, oh my God. And I can't remember his name, but he was like, he was a big name. And he was like, I'm like, I cannot give a healing to this guy. Like, he's like the bomb. He's like the guy. I'm like, oh my God, this is not gonna work. So I remember being like, all right, spirit, I need the big guns right now. Come on, you really need to show me what to do. And I remember totally going like into a meditative state. And what I was able to do, I was able to like actually, I remember stopping at like his back and then the front area, and I could feel the heat in my hands and I could feel like the pain and stuff. And so after we were talking about it, and I was like, all right, well, this is what I heard and this is what I felt and this is what was happening. And he just looked at me and he goes, 100% correct. And I went, no way. So you mean like reaching from the ground and down from the earth? That was like something, but it was so crazy. I forgot where I'm going with this, but it was like so weird for me. So because I had no idea what I was doing. And I guess the whole point of this is even if you don't know or understand what it is that you're doing with the healing, just trust spirit, trust your guide, trust the source, trust yourself, and know that we have the tools inside of us to do this, and we can do it. It was just such a fun experience, though, just like kind of like I said, one eye looking around the room going, what am I doing right now? It was the coolest thing. But yeah, so just really trust yourself, be patient with yourself, forgive yourself. There's really no right or wrong way. It's what works for you. And some of this at different times is going to feel very awkward and uncomfortable and like, oh, what am I doing? And you'll get the hang of it. You just go with the flow and just trust that you're in the right place for the right reasons, and you're going to figure out this healing thing, and however you decide to do it is how you do it. So yeah, so that's how I learned how to do the healings. So now healings again, like I do through meditations, past life readings, forgiving myself, the whole thing, like intention setting, being grateful, doing your grateful journal, being thankful, um but most of all, just be honest with yourself. Okay. We tend to tell ourselves things sometimes because I think we're supposed to think that or tell ourselves something specific, but honestly, just be honest with yourself. Okay. Through the whole process and everything you're experiencing with it, and just enjoy it, have fun. Being spiritual, learning how to heal, learning how to meditate, learning how to connect with source and spirit and guides. It's a pretty fun ride. You just have to allow yourself to go with it. Anyways, I'm off on a tangent. I forgot where I was going with that, but anyway. And ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If you don't understand something, ask, because everybody's been where you are. And I was afraid to ask questions my first weekend, and going into even classes for the first couple of years, I was afraid to ask questions because I thought I was the only one feeling and thinking the way I was feeling and thinking. You know, you're not alone though. And that's another thing to remember, is you're not alone in this. Okay. So you always have someone you can reach out to, or there's always someone that should be around, or could, I hate to use the word should, but someone to reach out to. All right, Roxanne, your turn.
Sorry.
Kari, your turn.
No, you're fine. You made me think about something, but I can write it down. We can come back to
go. What'd you think about?
You had mentioned forgiving yourself, and I feel like that is a very powerful healing tool as well. And what I started doing when things would come up for me, I would go into meditation and basically relive that moment and react in the way that this version of me would react. And for whatever reason, that made it so I could forgive myself for reacting the way that I did then, because I reacted the way that I knew how to in that moment. So, now I'm like, I can't believe I did that. But now I can, just kind of visualize doing it differently. And for whatever reason, that's healing to me.
That makes sense. It kind of reminds me of, and I don't know where I read this. It's been a long time, but I often tell people, especially with childhood traumas, or teenage drama and just growing up and stuff, I write a letter to yourself. Like, what would you tell the 12-year-old you? What would you tell the child you? What would you tell that version of hope at that time, knowing what you know now at this time? That's what it kind of reminds me of.
Yeah.
Forgiving yourself for the time that you were in. And yeah, I like that.
And also, just like, if you're a fucking wreck, that means you're doing it right. That means you're making progress and you're doing it right. I know when I first started my healing journey and I was letting things come up and I was working through things, and even if I wasn't, like, there are things that I worked through that I didn't do it consciously at first. It was all a lot subconscious stuff, and you figure that out later. You're like, oh wow, I really did a deep dive on that and I didn't even realize I was doing it. But for me, I know I talked before about how, like, I was so closed off, my heart chakra was so closed off, and like I hadn't cried in like 15 years. Like, I could not even let myself cry. You know, it was one of those things. And like then when I started my healing journey and I was going to the classes, the 2-year program at fellowships, and there was just so much energy there and there was so much healing that happened. And I would like go there to these people that I don't even know, and I'm just like bawling. And I'm like, I promise this isn't who I am, you know? But don't be embarrassed because that stuff needs to come out. And that's like, if you're a wreck, you're doing it right, you know? And even just like, I know, like I said, we've all been going through it this week. Like I have been on the edge all week and just like crying randomly for no reason, at things that make no sense. But you know, I know what's happening in there and I'm working through it now. Um, but just know that it's okay. Like, don't be embarrassed. That means you're making progress. That means that you're succeeding. That means that you are healing and that you are doing it right. Even if you feel like you have no control, you have no idea what the hell you're doing. If all these emotions are coming up and stuff, you're doing it. You are actively doing it.
It's the power of releasing. It's like shedding that outer layer of the skin, like a snake skin. You're shedding that layer, you know, you're peeling that layer of that skin off and blossoming or blooming into, you know, the better version of yourself or the higher part of your soul, you know. It's the soul work is difficult. It's emotional. I've also been emotional this week. I was sitting at work the other day and I just started crying and I'm like, oh, here we go again. And that's the thing, when you've been doing this for as many years, I feel as like Kari, Roxanne, and I have been doing this, that you start to notice the signs and the symptoms and the signals, and you're like, all right, I'm crying. What am I shedding? What am I healing? And then you start asking those questions because it's coming up for a reason. And the power of crying it's powerful and it's a good release. It's a good way to literally just flush it all out, everything that you're supposed to, you know, just kind of get rid of inside there. So,
I'm
yeah.
also a big fan of car screaming, and I posted a
Oh, I
video
love
earlier
that. Yeah.
about this, but I go in my car while I'm driving and I just fucking scream as loud as I can. You can have the windows down or up, what doesn't matter. If you're driving through the city, people might look at you like because they can hear you. But I drive on backcountry roads anyways, or I'll just, you know, I have a place where I can go out in the woods where I know nobody is there and I can scream as loud, just as painful, as primal as you need to let it out. Just let it go. Let it go.
Or scream in your pillow. So I took a spiritual coaching class because I eventually would like to get more into spiritual coaching. And but it was with Liz Roberta, who wrote Living in Tune, which is a phenomenal book. I've read it so many times and I've listened to it so many times. But I remember one of our exercises was to get a pillow, to go into the closet and to scream into this pillow. And I was just like, okay, what the hell? So I got the pillow, I went in my closet and I did it. And I'll tell you what, I was laughing hysterically after. But the release that, you know, I felt just like screaming and letting it out. I have screamed in the car a couple times, but then I'm like, God, did anybody hear me? You know, but yeah, or going into the woods like Roxanne said. But yeah, there is power in literally just, you know, just screaming and releasing. What do you do, Kari? Do you scream?
Not really.
Oh, come
I'm more
on.
of a no,
You
I'm
gotta
more of a
scream.
car crier.
Okay.
Or if I do feel like I need to like scream or like yell to get it out, I listen to music where I can scream in the music, if that makes sense. Like
Can I give you the homework assignment to scream in your pillow just one time this week for me? And let me know like how it felt.
I can give it a shot. I don't know. I just never feel the need to like to just sit and scream.
Oh.
I'm more of a crier, but I'm a Pisces. We cry.
Mhm.
You can try to
That's
scream
what we
right
do.
from your sacral where all that anxiety is. I know you have some frustration. We talk about things. I know you got
Oh.
some frustrations that you could scream about.
But I usually just like I air it in like yelling. Does it but I don't just like scream. Like I will yell and just like I'll just like yell about what I'm mad about.
Oh, well,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Does that make
Not
sense?
screaming. Just like be like, you know, I'm just gonna scream. it feels so good. There's
It
like
does.
power in that scream of like, I don't know, do it however you want, however you like. I just would really like you to try the screaming just so you can just like start laughing and be like, okay, this was really a lot of fun.
The
Yeah.
other thing that I do that Brandon makes fun of me all the time when I'm mad or frustrated, like I have to get it out somehow or some way. For one, music is great, you can dance, right? But two, like when I'm mad in the moment, I stomp and I stomp my feet and it like helps to get the energy going. But he's like, you're throwing a temper tantrum like a toddler. And I'm like, I am not. I am just releasing my energy. He's like, oh, here she comes stomping because she's mad. I'm like, yeah, thanks for making fun of me, but like that's how I get it out. So stomp around your house too. I mean, that helps. Or like moving your body is just important. Releasing that energy. The just as a Taurus, as a earth sign, the other thing I do, and we talk about grounding, but I literally will just go lay outside on the ground and pretend like my body is covered in moss. Like if I could dig a hole and put myself in it, I would. Just being connected to the earth is so important. So
Hmm.
just lay on the ground, literally just lay on it. Let your clothes get dirty. Who fucking cares? Get some leaves in your hair. Like, get it, ground, get in tune. Like, it's super important to be in tune with the earth, to be in tune with the cycles of the earth, and with Mother Earth.
I kind of like to throw things. That was like
Yep.
my young self, and I kind of grew out of that a little bit, and I find myself kind of going back there. I like the just being able to release and just to throw something. I don't know, just the power in throwing. So I really want to go to one of those dish smashing places. And I really just want to throw stuff because I don't know, that just it seems childish and immature, but it really works for me. It's
No.
probably why I loved softball so much as growing up and stuff, because it's like the power in like having to throw that ball and just I don't know. I love throwing things. And
No.
it's I have to be careful though. Like I'll be honest. I like chucked a water bottle the other night and my son turned and looked at me and he goes, "Do you feel better?" And I went, "Yeah, actually I do. I feel like I've just released a whole lot of pressure." And he goes, "Huh, I wonder where I get mine from." But my son's a stomper. So when he is like needs to release, he's a stomper. I don't stomp because that hurts my feet. But but I do throw. I don't know. So just be careful. I'm not saying go out and throw something if you're really frustrated and feeling that energy. I suggest screaming or dancing or all these other tips we've given. But if you have a safe place to throw something, I say go ahead, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Go throw a softball.
Yeah.
Like, because as you were saying, you were talking about like wanting to throw things. That was what I was envisioning was like going outside and whipping the softball. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's how my kid gets her frustration out is sports, whether it's, hitting a volleyball, throwing a basketball, like moving your body. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that is what I'm a stomper though, too. Like, my husband gets so annoyed because if I'm annoyed, he knows because I start stomping around and I start slamming everything. All the
I do
cabinets, like I
too. Yep. Yep.
slam them shut.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if you
Yep.
really want to be destructive, which I am saying, hell yeah, I don't think that it is childish at all. Like the Goodwill yard sales, Goodwill has like the 50% off of the Blue Dot or whatever, 39-cent housewares. Get some fucking dishes, get some mugs, get some glasses. And if you can find a safe place to break them, go and chuck them and break them. Get a hammer and just start smashing shit. Like make your own rage room. It doesn't have to be
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Lay down a tarp and just go to town. Like, I love it. Yeah. So I have I've done that in the past. We'll just say I've broken
Mm-hmm.
lots of dishes, but it helps to hear the cracking because
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
it's important. I feel like that sound, the smashing sounds,
And
healing.
yeah, and it's like, and if you feel it should be like all love and light and peaceful and calm as you're throwing it and chucking something and breaking it and listening to it smash, which is very satisfying, totally put the intention into it that I'm releasing this frustration and anger because of this. Just go ahead, put some intention into it, make it good. But, it's how everybody deals with it. And sometimes you just need to just like throw a tantrum. You need to jump up and down and clench your hands and just scream and just release, because, you know, I've said this so many times. We are a soul having a human experience. We are doing the best we can do, but sometimes you just need to release on a different level. You know, I'm not saying go out and hurt yourself. Do not go out and hurt anyone else. You know, be kind, be forgiving towards yourself. You know, just, you know, I always tell my students that, you know, well, I was really angry, so I did this. And I'm like, no, okay, your anger does not justify you ever hurting someone else, okay, or hurting something else. Okay, it's not about that. So again, in no way am I justifying ever hurting yourself or anyone else, but if you need to go outside and throw a softball or a baseball or go to Goodwill and get a dish and just break the dish, and you know, then it's okay, you know? So I always
All
gotta put that
feelings are
disclaimer in.
justified, but
Huh?
all feelings are justified, but not all actions are.
Right. Right.
And you deserve a crash out, you know? I feel
Mhm.
like people don't allow themselves to have a breakdown. I have to schedule my breakdowns around my family,
I know.
you know?
Yeah.
But I allow myself to have a breakdown. I'll schedule it around my family. I'll be like, okay, this Saturday from 2 to 4, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna let it
Mhm.
because you got to suck it up and pull it together, you know, when you're a parent or when you have other stuff
Mhm.
going on. So if you have to schedule a breakdown, schedule your breakdown and plan for it and make it fun, like smashing the dishes. But you deserve it. You deserve a crash out. Let yourself go.
Well, and this is where the other disclaimer comes in, because again, I am a Virgo. So like no damage to public property or anybody else's property. And if you're going to do any type of littering in any way, shape, or form, be very kind to our earth and clean up after yourself. You know, gotta put that in there too. So, you know.
I think that was very helpful for the healing stuff. I think, I don't know, I'm hoping that people will get some good ideas from this and
Yeah.
just where they can go and what they can do on their healing journeys when they're dealing with all of this stuff. So,
Well, and talk to people. Talk, talk, talk. Journal and talk and write questions and ask questions and seek people, whether it's circles, development circles, or, you know, spiritual help circles, emotional circles, whatever. Just find, or classes just to sit in on. Just find a way to educate yourself, learn, and talk to people, you know. That's important too, is talking through it, making connections. So I felt like I did a lot of talking this time.
okay, that's good.
Okay.
You're popular. Hope everyone likes you.
Well, they like you too, and Kari.
Well, I'm saying they like your videos. Whenever I
Oh,
have like clips of you talking, people are like, "Oh, I like her."
oh,
They all like your videos. Yeah.
well, thanks. Well, you know, speaking of that, I went to, and I really wish I could remember the girl's name. I tried to look at name tags because I always try to remember like people's names. Um, we'll blame menopause. But anyway, I was at a local hair salon, and I think I messaged you ladies about it. And one of the workers there, she watches our videos. So she watches our podcast. I'm like, oh my God, that's so exciting. You know, so yeah, that's pretty cool.
Anything that we want to add to wrap up this episode that we've talked about healing strategies, I guess, healing strategies. Oh, we're all good? Well,
I think I don't know. Do we? Yeah, I mean, we could all say like our favorite thing or something, but I don't know if that's really helpful. I'm a music I'm a music person, so when I need to heal, I listen to music. And I my probably the past week, because of just what I've been like dealing with, it's been a lot of like Disney music. I think I'm healing some inner child stuff, maybe.
aw. My favorite thing that I do for healing is connecting with Mother Earth. I have a spot in the woods that I go to, well, a few spots in the same woods that I go to, and I'll do everything I need to do there. If I just feel like I need to heal, I'll lay down on the ground and let Mother Earth heal me. If I need to rage, I will scream at God. I will say, fuck you, you know, what the hell is going on? I'll scream it out. You know, I am honest. Like, it's not all love and light. So sometimes you need to get out there and scream it and say, like, what the hell? Like, this is bullshit. Being a human sucks. I don't like it. So I go into the woods and I connect with Mother Nature. And sometimes I don't even have intentions of like, I know that I need to heal, but I don't know what I need to do. So I'll just walk. I'll just walk through the woods and look at the trees and look at the mushrooms and look at the ferns and like touch moss. And sometimes that's just enough. And I usually find some feathers or something that I'm like, oh, nice. You know, it's a little gift from nature to me. Thank you. So that's my favorite thing to do. Hope.
Um, I like to sit in silence a lot. So I like the quiet. I like to shut everything out. I like to listen to natural sounds like the wind or especially waves. I love listening to ocean waves or the birds or just sitting in silence with my eyes closed or just staring at something, whether it's a tree or just being quiet. I do like music and all that, but even when I'm driving, I tend to drive in silence. I kind of like the quiet around me. I also like my oracle cards. I use my oracle cards and stuff, especially if I really want to hone in on a specific question or a part of my healing. Um, but I'm trying to think. Yeah, I really just sit in silence a lot. Even at work, I'll close my door during lunch and I'll turn on just like a meditative music or like my new one is like the hand pan. I shouldn't say new. I've been listening to those for about a year. I really like the rhythm and the sound of it. So I will just put that on and just listen to it. And try to and just get out of my own head pretty much. So yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. We will leave that with you with love and light.
Mhm.